everyone. My name is Bill Levinson, Managing Partner with Levinson and Associates. And with us today, we have Joseph Loughran, our Marketing Vice President. We also have a few special guest speakers that I would like to introduce. The first one is Stephen, who actually invented the LEAD program. So we're delighted to have him join us, and he's going to talk about the program and where it shines and how the leads are actually created, just so you have a real understanding of what you're getting into, or if you've been working the program already, this would be a great chance to learn about some facts that talk about the program in its entirety. So great stuff to come from Stephen. We also have two special guest speakers that are real-life street agents of ours. And I think it's important that we hear from real-life agents because, you know, they're in the trenches, just like everyone that's on the call today. You know, they're not speaking from an IMO's perspective or from Stephen's side. They're out there making the calls, making sales, and hitting the pavement, if you will. So we're delighted to have Ken and Richard join us on today's call. And also keep in mind, they're doing this out of the kindness of their heart, just because they want to help our agents, help us as an IMO, and really just to give back. So special thank you to these two gentlemen. We really appreciate them taking their time. So if you have any questions, of course, call us or email us after the presentation, and we will dive into anything that you would like to go over. I also think it's important before we dive in here, you know, you need to understand this isn't the perfect, you know, billionaire lead program that you can buy, you know, 20 or 30 leads and you're going to become a millionaire in 2017. It doesn't work like that, okay? Obviously, there's some great leads that are mixed in here, okay? But you are going to have to make the phone calls and go through the protocol to sort through and find the gold, if you will. So they're out there, and purposely we invited Richard to be on the call because he has participated in the last few weeks, and he came across a monster lead and resulted in a great big case. So we wanted him to share how he came about this particular lead, and we wanted him to also share his story and talk about what he does when he gets the leads and how he utilizes technology by making the LEAD program more successful and touching more of these leads. So he has some great stuff to share. And then, of course, Ken is a veteran by now with our LEAD program. He was in our first pilot phase years ago. So he's still using the program successfully, still finds those monster cases. So he's got some great stuff to share as well. So we're very excited about this call. We're going to do things a little differently, spice it up a little bit than the previous webinar. The first slide, we're going to talk about the ins and outs of the Mortgage LEAD program. Keep in mind, this is exclusive to Levinson and exclusive to you. So what that means is we're not going out there and selling the same lead to 3 or 4 different agents. Okay, if that particular client has spoken to more than, let's say they have 2 or 3 calls from various agents, okay, all that means is they probably filled out 2 or 3 or 4 cards, those mortgage mailers that come as soon as you purchase or refinance your house. They could have filled out 10 of those for all we know. We can't control that, but what we can control is every lead is 100% exclusive. The minimum order is 12 leads. The lead cost is $18 a lead, and we do give free leads for every batch that's ordered. If you look at the right side, we give all the way up to 4 free leads with an order of 20, okay? And that's just to make up for any leads that maybe their income wasn't sufficient or maybe the health wasn't quite up to par. But Stephen does that just to kind of make good on every single lead order for every agent. So we appreciate that. Also, I'm going to add, we don't make a penny on this program. Okay, now obviously the only money that is made from on the Levinson side is as soon as any business is written, obviously we get our override from the carrier. So we do expect all business generated to come back through Levinson, which is the right thing to do, as we all know. Okay, so the program for us to put this out there and let our agents participate costs us money with every single batch. So as I say, the only thing that we expect from you is that all business gets sent back through Levinson. So every single Monday, the leads get ordered. We do expect your lead order form, to be submitted by Monday before the close of business. And then, of course, by Tuesday, before the end of business, you will receive your leads. Okay, and then the last bullet there, once again, this is the third time now, everything must get placed back through Levinson. Okay, Joe's going to talk about the lead reimbursement program that we put together, which basically means this might wind up costing you nothing. Joe, you want to take it from here?
Yeah, thanks, Bill. So real quick here, we developed the reimbursement program actually early on in the stages of rolling out the lead program. So the first step is, of course, ordering your leads. Then once you write and actually place a policy that was a result of the mortgage lead program, we'll actually reimburse you for the cost of each placed policy. So let's say you write a case in the first week, there's actually a lead reimbursement form which will be sent out in an email to everyone this afternoon. You fill that reimbursement form out. When you send in that application, we code it in our internal system, and once that policy goes in force and that free look period is up, then we actually send you the check for the cost of that lead. So if you write one case, you're going to get $18. If you write, let's say you wrote 12 cases, you'd get $216. So there are agents that have been using this program for several months, and even some for several years, that it's not uncommon for us to send them, $100, $200, $300 of lead reimbursement checks on a monthly basis. So just a great way that we kind of help subsidize, in addition to the co-op price, is the reimbursement program. So that's available with all leads. Again, you will receive that order form this afternoon when you receive an email from us with some additional details. So just a great way to kind of make great commissions and get reimbursed for the cost of the lead.
Okay, thank you, Joe. Okay, so we're going to dive right in here to our guest speakers. And like I said earlier, the first agent of ours that is joining us is Richard, all the way from North Carolina. And what intrigued me to get involved and ask him if he would be a guest on our webinar is he's been using the program, and he sent in, we didn't even ask for this, he emailed us a quick testimonial, and I saw the email that came in, and it just really touched me because, we're out there, we're creating the sizzle, we're pitching the program, and I don't want anyone to think that we're making money on this, or this is just some internet lead program that everybody's out there pitching. There's so many different names, and 99% of these are all BS. And if you've tried them, I think you can attest to that. So when I saw his email come in, I said to myself, I know that those leads are out there. Kent has said it from day one. Stephen has said it. And then seeing this come in from Richard, I was like, wow, I would love him to share his story with the rest of our agents and talk about, the way that he conducts his business. So, if an agent can pick up a tip or two, and if that results in a new sale, great. It's a win-win for everybody involved. And before we dive in, I just want to say one more thing. It's important that, you're going to hear Richard's style, you're going to hear Kent's style, and then, of course, Stephen, who's been in the business for 30, 40 years, has his own style. And, you as an agent are going to create your own style that is probably totally different from these three agents that you're going to hear from. But my point is, if you can pick up one little piece of information or a way to use the latest technology to touch more of these leads faster, great. It was well worth your 45 minutes spent. So that's the whole purpose of this. We're going to keep bringing new agents to the table with new tips and new secret sauce, if you will. So obviously, keep your eyes peeled, take down some notes, and let's all enjoy the presentation. The testimonial is right there in orange in front of you. And what Richard said is my client is applying for $5 million of 20-year term, which is about $10,000 to $15,000 of premium. Thanks, and we just gave you the abbreviated version, but he said, thanks for the LEAD program, best value I've ever gotten from an IMO. So obviously, we love to see this stuff. So I'm going to let Richard just give you a little overview on the LEAD program and what his thoughts are, and then we'll ask him a final question there. Richard, are you there?
Yeah, sure I am.
Thank you. Thank you. So can you just, if you don't mind, take a minute just to talk about, you know, your success with the LEAD program and how it's changed your business a bit?
Sure. I just got my fourth week of leads in a few days ago, and the challenge is always reaching people, obviously, you know, getting them on the phone, et cetera, et cetera. So I started texting people, and everybody will read their cell phone, it appears, and I found that a lot of people respond via text. So I've come up with a series of texts now, about 10 or 12 of them. They're templates, and I can just do them in a moment. I don't have to retype them all the time, or I give them to my wife. I put a code in the file, and she'll send out the appropriate text. But when the leads come in, before I even call them, I'll send a text out to all of them. And a few days ago, when the leads came in, I had 3 out of 14 text me right back. Like within like a half an hour, my wife came running to me with the phone. She's all excited, you know. So obviously I called those ones first, right? And then this larger case here, it was the one from back August 31st, and I sent him a text, left a couple of voicemails, and actually when it gets down to push and shove, I'll even leave a voicemail maybe the second time around if I can't reach them. I'll leave a voicemail with a low term rate, sometimes a 10-year term rate to get their attention. When I did that with this gentleman, I gave him a $5 million 10-year term. It was like $400 a month, and he texted me back, apologized, hadn't gotten back sooner, et cetera, et cetera. And then I texted him again, set up a telephone appointment, and he happens to be CEO of a national car rental company, and he runs the operations in the United Kingdom. And we had a telephone appointment last Friday, and he said, I think I want to lock the rate in for 20 years. And when he's going to a board meeting in the 1st of October, the exams will be done at the hotel. It doesn't require a full MD exam, and that's how I got that one. So that's kind of how I do it without going into a whole lot more detail. By finding texting was very good, and then I leave a very powerful voicemail, you know, talking about living benefits. Biggest cause of foreclosures is serious illnesses and the passing of a primary wage earner. And then I asked them that when they call back, if they could please leave their email, I can get some additional information to them. And about, I'll get some emails that way. And that way, whenever you get their email, that's real powerful. I'll schedule a telephone appointment. I'll send out 2 emails, one about the process of how to get the best value. And I also send out another email about who I am and my background, so I won't be so much a stranger to them. I'm also going to maybe start doing, I haven't done this yet, maybe doing a face-to-face on the phone where they can see me on the computer, but I can't see them, make it even more a little personalized, but I haven't done that yet. And then it's just following up with them. And primarily, I thought I was going to do a lot of these without exams. And it turned out that a lot of people are in their 40s and 50s and older, and it's quite costly as it is without an exam. So I'm doing it with the exams, and I'm selling them on the exam, and the examiner is getting the paperwork signed. Most good examiners, if you email them the paperwork, they'll get those signature pages signed. Some just came in back today for about $2,500 premium, and I try to get them the best value. And then I've learned that just like years ago when I was working mortgage leads, when I was doing some direct mail myself, these people they're sending back 3 or 4, many of them are. And a lot of the agents are with the National Agents Alliance or the marketing companies that actually go out and see them face to face. So I come in behind them, and I'm warning them in my texts and my emails to be wary of the higher price, no exam coverages, 2-3 times as much. And I've gotten 2 where I came in behind the other agent who saw them face to face. So that is an inherent advantage if they see them face to face, but it's also an inherent advantage if they're doing, simplified issue up to Table D. And I come behind them and give them a North American, a good rate, 30-year term, whatever it may be. So I'm doing that as well. I'm not doing, at least so far, the no exam programs, because most people are in their 50s that I'm talking to.
Yep. So what's happening is these agents are coming in the door and they're quoting non-med term, which is that 20-year-old myth of mortgage term, and you're coming in undercutting their price by 20, 30, 40% by taking an exam, and you wind up with the business and a new client is the bottom line.
Yeah, there's an example 2 days ago, $65 a month, $160,000, 20-year term. The agent said it was Universal Life. I printed off CompuLife, what the exact rate was with the company, emailed it to her. It was obviously a 20-year term. Excuse me, it was a 30-year term, but it was Universal Life. And then with North American, $500,000 at a preferred rate. And she's a little lady, like 38 years old, in good health. $500,000. I mean, that's kind of pretty easy, you know. $500,000 versus $160 for the same price.
Yep, no, that's a no-brainer. So
I mean, they're not all like that, of course, okay, but you know,
yeah,
so
yeah.
I kind of capitalize on agents that are doing the simplified issue, because a lot of people I'm talking to, oh yeah, I've already done that. When I get them on the phone, and I said, you know, they already done it. Obviously, didn't take an exam. I said, you didn't take an exam, did you? And then I had that conversation. And then for other folks that are older, you know, I'm a you know, Series 65, and whether a person is or is not, you know, we all do annuities and this, that, whatever. And I kind of shift over to other stuff that I do. And I have one guy who doesn't need the life insurance, but I'm going to talk to him in a few weeks about his 401k rollover of $300,000. You know, so you know, I don't just leave it at that. When these people are, you know, 55, 60 years old, they're getting near retirement. They very possibly could have, you know, 401ks, people that would show up at a Social Security seminar or whatever it may be.
Yep. And you can uncover, and that can lead to disability, critical illness, cancer, rollover, any type of annuity. So it can go on and on. So even if their life insurance is covered, which is rare, you can open other doors. So which is what,
yeah, and then I always, right? Yeah, then I bring up, when was the last time you had a life insurance you know, review done? Longer life expectancies, prices have come down. Chances are they don't have, you know, living benefit life insurance. Who knows? They might have one of these universal life policies that the insurance company's jacking up the cost of the insurance on. You know, you don't know. So you're just out there pressing the buttons, and whatever hits, you dive into. And yeah, well, I'm talking to them on a favorable basis. I have their ears, so then you just like you would on a, you know, an appointment. You know, just do a little bit of a fact finder.
And I think it's important too that you mentioned in the beginning how you send out that text. You know, most people these days have cell phones. You know, that's their main phone line that they're putting on these mailers. So that text warms them up. And then I love what you said too. You grab their email right away, because these days that's the main form of communication. So again, it's another warm up, and then the phone call comes in from the same agent, and you're in. So all those ways work, and I love what you're doing. All right, do you want to mention anything before we move on here, Richard? Because this is all great stuff.
I think I covered the majority of the things. You know, I through the process, I keep them informed via emails, the exam process, the order medical records. So when you do the exam, obviously you can lose the momentum sometimes. So a lot of it's just continuous communication. So I have a system. I have templates for all these different kinds of communications. So I can just pick and choose, and then it will take me just like seconds to send it out versus like 10 or 15 minutes. So it's also about systems, because this is just a supplemental to my other things that I'm doing. So I don't want to where it takes up all my time. So having systems is very important to save time, obviously. But other than that, no, that's it.
No, that's great. We appreciate that. That was great information. And again, the streamlined system, so important, because it allows him to sort through all of these leads and get to the, you know, the $10,000 client that is now talking about also a universal life product. So, you know, that's great stuff. You don't want to spend too much time on a lead that's going nowhere. So, all right, we appreciate the information, Rich. We're going to move forward into our next speaker, and this is Kent, all the way from Texas, and he's been using the program for years and years, like I said earlier. And, you know, I'm sure most of you have probably heard him on our previous lead webinars, but, you know, he's perfected his system. He knows the program inside and out. So we'll just ask him a few questions and then get his take on our lead program. Kent, are you there?
Sure. Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, so well, first of all, we want to thank you for taking the time, because we know your time is precious, so we appreciate that. The first question here, and I know you just heard Richard speak, and you know, I said earlier, everyone has their own system. There's no right or wrong. It's whatever works for you. So, you know, Kent has his own system. I'm sure a lot of things are similar and a lot are different, but we'll talk about that a little bit. The first question is, what are some tips and suggestions for setting up your initial dialogue with your prospect? So, you know, what do you do when you first get your leads and kind of go from there?
Yeah, absolutely. First, I'd like to say Richard had some great points, and to kind of piggyback on something he said is a great value add to everybody, and that is that when those other folks are coming in there and selling those non-med opportunities, they're limited on the carriers that they can offer, and their pricing is not even competitive with what we as agents through Levinson can offer. You know, if we're appointed with 20 different carriers and we're offering Mutual of Omaha or you know, Prudential or whoever it might be, you know, we're coming in at such a greater savings that, you know, that is just such a great tip from Richard. So that's good stuff. To the question that Bill proposed here, you know, I always go into the conversation, and the point I want to make today is go into the conversation to listen and find out about the prospect along with their needs versus selling them insurance. So it's kind of similar to what Richard said, but you're going to go into these conversations just listening and asking questions. I will continue, my theme will always be ask lots of questions, because whoever asks the questions is in control of the conversation. And then being very real with your people, you know, engage in conversation and ask them and let them talk and do a lot of talking, because if at all possible, you know, take the sale approach out of the call. One way to do this is just state, you know, I know you're inquiring about mortgage protection, but you know, let's talk about why you're looking for insurance. Because, yeah, you know, they want to pay off the or they want their spouse or the children to pay off the mortgage if something happens to them. But, you know, get beneath the surface and talk to your people and become real with them. And just start a dialogue of, you know, why they're actually purchasing the insurance, and they're going to just lay it out on the table. If you can get real with your people, I think you're going to go a long way with the system. Other than that, Bill, you know, I've always said that, you know, you've got to be organized, but over all the years, I would just say keeping it simple is probably, I think Richard would say the same thing. Keep everything so simple. The texting, that's a great idea. 3-ring binder. You know, don't get caught up in, you know, just time-consuming areas that you could be making phone calls, because making phone calls is where it's at. And so that's what I have.
Yeah, no, that's great. And it works great for Kent, because he's one of our top producers, and it's mainly from the program. So we know it's working. The proof is in the pudding. And, you know, I think this comes up all the time. I remember when I was an agent 20-plus years ago, you know, the client or the prospect will come back and say, you know, I know you're a life insurance agent, and I filled out this mailer. How is this going to protect my mortgage, and why is this called mortgage protection? So how do you spin that around?
Sure. I just go into the conversation about, hey, this is a life insurance policy. It's designed as a mortgage protection vehicle that allows you to pay off your mortgage. It allows your spouse and children to have a roof over their head if you were to pass away. Otherwise, they're on the street. So I'll say that again for anybody that's taking notes. Just go into a conversation about, hey, this is a life insurance policy designed as a mortgage protection vehicle that allows you to pay off your mortgage. It allows your spouse and children to have a roof over their head if you pass away. Otherwise, they're on the street. And so you just become very matter of fact with them. You don't beat around the bush. I mean, they're going to eventually, well, this is just life insurance. That's going to come up. You have to be able to overcome that objection of, well, this is just life insurance. Well, it is, but it's designed as a mortgage protection vehicle that allows you to pay off your mortgage in the event that there's a premature death and your spouse and your children need a way to put a roof over their heads so they don't, you know, they don't end out on the street. So just, hey, get down to the brass tacks of the purpose of this insurance with your people.
Yep. No, that's great. I like that spin on saying, you know, I'm sure you've heard about the old type of life insurance that doesn't trigger or pay until you're dead. Well, the new type of life insurance, pays while you're still alive. So I think that's a great spin on, critical illness or any kind of living benefit riders, which we can all bundle into term or permanent insurance. I like that angle too. I think that's a good one, and that works well.
Yeah, and you might even everybody might even go into the conversation, the small talk of, unlike PMI, private mortgage insurance, this insurance allows you to stay in your home. Private mortgage insurance doesn't protect the homeowner. It basically protects the other areas. Everybody makes sure they get their money, but in this insurance allows you to stay in the home and continue living, and your family can move forward in life. So. Yep. That might be a way to just kind of dissect it and differentiate between the two insurances.
Yeah, and the great part with our life insurance is if it's a $500,000 house, and let's say your spouse passes on 10 years later, and the balance of the loan is, say, $300,000, you're going to have obviously a house paid off, and then a $200,000 check the client can do whatever they want with. So there's a lot of perks on our end. And let me bring up one more thing before we dive into the last question. I think it's real important to know what you're up against. And like Richard said earlier, and I know Kent comes across this all the time, but if they filled out a few different mailers, most of these agents out there, and I don't want to say there's a competing IMO that sells these leads and has a bunch of agents all over the country, they're limited to one or two companies, and those premiums are usually through the roof. So like Ken said earlier, you can offer, we have up to 30, 40 companies with the least expensive term that's available in the country. So lots and lots of options and ways to turn this into a sale.
Mm-hmm. All right, and I might add one more thing. And this happened to me last week, and Bill and I were discussing this, so everybody needs to be aware of if your client or your prospect on the phone, when you take an application, if they apply with another company, and a lot of times they won't reveal that, and this happened to me last week. I lost a deal that was a $300 a month deal for me, and the reason that the deal got lost was because we were running up against, I was running up against Mutual of Omaha, and I had placed, I think I placed American General, and there was a need for a phone interview on my end. Well, Mutual of Omaha had already written the case and already issued a policy. And I was still in our underwriting on our side was trying to get the phone interview to take place. So the reason I bring this up is it's important for you to know your competition, and you must know that if you are having to try to get a phone interview for your person, that you may get beat out and not win the deal. In other words, the policy had already been issued and they got the thing underwritten and it had already been placed in force. And she called and texted me and said that she no longer wanted to go forward with my case. I mean, that's disappointing always, but my purpose of that statement is ask the questions and find out if there's another case going, because you need to know what you're dealing with. And if you need to know who does interviews, who doesn't, so it pays to have the knowledge on every carrier on what's required to get the insurance in force.
Yeah, no, that's important. So Ken's proposal and policy was even less than the competing agent, but the Mutual of Omaha policy was issued faster, even though it was more expensive. So what Ken is saying is rely on our marketers, know your way around our website and the products, so you know what's required ahead of time. That's a great point. And obviously, things are going to happen that are out of your control. But if you learn the basics, just know what you're getting into, then you can prevent a lot of these things from happening. I won't even call it a mistake, but things are going to happen. So that's a great point. And obviously never a good call to get, but next time you'll learn and you know. And what I'll mention this too. It's so important, and my father taught me this a long time ago. But in this business, as an agent, an IMO, a GA, you never stop learning. If you're 18 years old or you're 78, you're still learning about this industry. It's constantly moving and turning, and you got to keep your finger on the pulse. And that again goes to Ken's point. So just know the basics and rely on us, because that's our job. That's what we're here for. All right. So the last point here we'll bring up, and then we'll move forward is for Kent. In your experience, you've been dealing with the leads for a long time now, and in your experience, how many attempts typically have to be made before a sale is made? I mean, obviously you'll get those, one phone call deals, but on the average, is it, 3 to 4 times or 5 or 6?
Yeah, I'm going to say 7 to 10 is my number because, you're going to make a phone call, not get anybody. You're going to get a voicemail. You're going to want to leave a voicemail. You're not going to want to leave a voicemail. You're going to want to text. There's just so many angles, but I would say 7 to 10 is probably the average. So I'll just, kind of comment on that. If you're willing to sell the small ones, the big ones will come. So let no case be too small. And just please understand, the smarter you work, the luckier you become in this mortgage lead program. And, it's kind of like, I hate to say fishing, but it is, because the more lines you put out there, the more chance you have of bringing in a catch. So to my point, there are stats that I could quote, and I won't bore you with those, but the bottom line is most agents will call 3 or 4 times, and then they'll throw their paper in the trash, or they'll move it aside, and they'll move on to the next deals, and then they forget about it because they got to move on. Well, back to being organized. You've got to make phone calls, let them forget about you or forget about your number, because they will get to the point where they see your number. For instance, the Texas number pops up, and it's easy to see me coming in from Texas into Florida because it's an odd number. But after a week or so, people's memories are very short, and that's because everybody's so busy. Well, make 3 or 4 phone calls and then give it a week rest, and then go back and get them.
Yeah, no, that's perfect. And you never know when you're going to come across that $10,000 sale, because I know, Ken, I know 100% it's happened to you a few times already this year. So they're out there.
Yeah. They are. Yeah, good luck, everybody.
Okay. Yeah, thank you very much, Ken. Again, we appreciate your time, and we truly value your input. I know everybody on the phone feels the same. Okay, so moving forward, I know we're running a little bit behind. We have our last guest speaker here, Stephen, who created the exclusive mortgage lead program. He also happens to be good friends with Kerry, my father, for many, many years, even before I got in the business. So this isn't just some third-party lead vendor from the middle of Wisconsin. So anyway, without further ado, I want to introduce Stephen, and we're going to jump into a few questions here right away. The first one is, how are the leads generated? We get this question all the time. Is it some kind of mailing process? Can you give everyone a 100-foot overview, Steve?
Thanks, Bill. And this is Steve on the line, folks. I want to thank you all for listening in today. And I certainly want to thank our newcomer, Richard, and my old friend Ken. Anyway, basically, how the lead program generates itself is that, as Bill mentioned before, anyone that takes out a new first or second mortgage, or refinances their mortgage, or gets an equity line, they subsequently are that closing is recorded in their respective county courthouse of the state. From there, these recordings become public records and are compiled and then become available for access for these kinds of mailing. Everyone that gets a mortgage of some type does get a lead letter explaining the benefits of a mortgage protection, and these people choose to ignore it, or these people choose to act on it and want to get information. They fill it out and send it in, and when an agent requests a lead order from their respective areas, from their respective state, we then pull it out of the newest, freshest leads that have come in from these mailings. Keep in mind that every response that comes in is from people who personally, as they say, had taken the time to fill it out and to physically mail it back. They obviously have some level of interest for them to have done that. These leads are real leads. They're not from cold calls. They're not internet leads. And that's what makes them of terrific value and use for the agents who receive.
Yep. And I think it's important to know that Steve doesn't work with any other IMOs or agents. This is strictly a Levinson program. So I think that's important to know at the end of the day. All right, let's move forward here. So, Stephen, are there parameters for the leads that are being generated as far as ages, home value, spouse's information? Can you dive into that a little bit?
Sure. Well, you know, as you said before, each lead is exclusive. So the leads that we generate through our process is only available for Levinson agents. Also, what was mentioned is that there's at least 2 to 4 additional leads included in each order for the agents that are ordering. And each and every lead is looked at very, very carefully. And what I mean by that is that, you know, getting back to what this question is, the ages of the respondents, the amount of the mortgage, things like that are very important. Those are the basic parameters. And I can tell you from my experience, and I've been involved with lead programs, first as an end user, and now as a creator of my own program for the past several years, that there's a lot of leads that are distributed to agents that, to me, are not of good value. And what I mean by that is that the ages in particular. One of the respondents might be 70 years old. That's not bad. You know, that's certainly usable. But the other one might be 82. That is acceptable as long as one of the respondents' age is below a certain amount, a certain age. That's still acceptable for some of these vendors who are selling these leads. The only thing I can tell you, folks, and I say this in a very sincere way, is that our parameters, by and large, is this particular lead that we're looking at, is this a good value? Is this a lead that I myself would be excited about calling on? Okay, and so yes, it has to do with ages and has to do with the mortgage amount and so forth. And if there's any question in our minds before we select a lead to send out, if we're not absolutely sold on it, we're not going to send it out. And that's important because if you have, frankly, 100% usable leads, at least on paper, at least as far as what you can read in black and white, you're way, way ahead of the game as far as what any other lead program out there does. Because I know the shortcomings of lead programs, again, from a personal basis. So you can rest assured that when you put in an order for X amount of leads, you're going to get back to, in your hand, each and every one of them of usable type of lead.
Okay, great. Stephen, can you just give us a rough range of the ages that the agents can expect? Just a ballpark is between what and what on the average? Would you take
well,
that shot?
I would say, you know, basically it's a wide range of ages, but, you know, I would say anywhere from late 20s to late 60s. You know,
okay,
in all
so
fairness,
his
because
phone's
that's the
a
general
little fuzzy, but basically late 60s as high as, and then as low as 20s. And then obviously the home values are spread all over. So as Richard said, he came across a monster in last week's order, so they're all over.
Yeah, but I do want to mention something. Yeah. What I wanted to mention is, you know, we see this, and I've experienced it many, many times. Do not prejudge a lead. You know, it's very important. I mean, you look at it and say, well, yeah, this looks okay, and another one might look terrific. The reality is that is a lead with a couple who are 60 years old, with a $110,000 mortgage better than, say, a couple who are 40 years old with a $300,000 mortgage? Well, what was said before from these two gentlemen, and it was said so crystal clear, I couldn't say it better, is if you ask the questions and you do the probing, there's no telling what could come out of that box, that Pandora's box, okay? But you have to be willing to ask those questions and listen. And like Ken said, listening is the prime thing in this. So, you know, we're presenting to you a door opener, okay? You each of you folks are going to walk through that door using the best of your abilities and harvest and cultivate and harvest what comes in from coming in that door. And that's the best way I can tell you, because, you know, like Ken said, you know, the more you do of it, the more thorough you do of this, call it luck. I'll go with luck. You know, I'd rather be lucky than good. I'll go with luck and say that if you do the job, the best job you can do on each and every call, each and every conversation, you will uncover some beautiful, beautiful things.
Yep, well, we've seen that happen. That's kind of the whole point of today's call. All right, our last question here, because we're running a little behind. And now this question comes up all the time is, you know, what can I expect as far as distance from my leads? And I'll just say one thing, and then I'll let Stephen chime in. But, you know, it's important to know that this all depends on, obviously, supply and demand and your certain state or area. We ask that you give us 3 different counties to choose from, and then, of course, we're going to do our best to try to fulfill that order. But you might find that depending on that particular week that they are outside of those 3 counties. So I'll let Stephen answer this one a little better. Steve?
Okay. Thank you, Bill. You know, it's a great question, like Bill said. And I guess I'd like to throw back a question before, you know, as an answer. To each and every one of the agents, would you rather have a lead that's of lesser quality but fits in that parameter of geography? As Bill mentioned, those 3 or 4 counties that you may state, versus a different lead outside that geographical parameter that's a far superior lead. Well, what we do, and again, it goes to looking at each and every lead before it goes out.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. And you got to remember, let me just say one thing. Even if, let's say, you do have a lead, like in Rich's batch that he ordered, that is, you know, 100, 150 miles away, that you need to sell and pitch over the phone, that might turn into a monster. You know, what he's saying is we would take that lead all day long versus one of those leads that's in our 3-county area that turns out to be nothing. So I think that's probably what you're trying to say, right, Steve?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, that's, you know, I've always said, give me the best quality you can give me. And I love when agents basically, when they order, say, give me the best you have in the state of Kansas, or whatever it is, you know. And it gives us all the latitude we want, because we're going to go through that, all those leads from A to Z, and pick out the best, be it 15 plus or 20 plus or whatever it is. And you know, we ran across so many of them this past week of agents ordering like that. And that's the smart way to do it, folks, because here's the reality. Aside from very specific areas in this country, call it Los Angeles, call it maybe in Texas, some of the largest cities there. I can't think of, you know, there's probably 1 or 2 others. There's very, very few areas that have in any particular county more than a handful of leads anyhow. And of those handful of leads, there's going to be a couple of 3 that I myself don't think it's of good value based on the parameters we spoke of a moment ago. So, you know, give yourselves the freedom. You have to be comfortable. You must be comfortable dealing with e-apps and that kind of thing, because that's what this business is today. Yeah, selling over the phone.
Very important. And we supply all the technology for the drop tickets, for e-applications. We even have our new mobile app, so you'll be able to fill out a drop ticket right from your cell phone. So, you know, that's important, and we're here to help you with that too. If you need a little extra hand-holding to learn a certain e-app or drop ticket, just call us anytime. That's what we're here for. All right, we got to move forward here. Stephen, thank you so much. We appreciate your time. We have about 10 minutes left, so we want to make sure we hit everything. We're going to show you some sample leads here. We have some great agent lead resources. We're going to show you a quick shot of our new Agency Automator CRM tool, which is changing the game. So we'll talk quickly. If you can just sit tight for another, say, 7 or 8 minutes here. Joe?
Yeah, thanks, Bill. So the emails, like we mentioned, that you'll receive with the mortgage leads come every Tuesday afternoon. What you'll see, this is actually a perfect example. It has the client's county, their address, the mortgage amount. Sometimes you'll notice that the mortgage amount is not listed on the actual mortgage lead. That's simply because the client did not write in the amount. So you have to do a little bit of digging to kind of ask them the amount of that mortgage. And then if you go towards the bottom, you'll see it has the borrower's information, the co-borrower's information. This is important. It's usually a spouse or a significant other listed on this form. So not only are you just getting one lead, you're usually getting a partner or a husband included as well. And the phone numbers, of course, are listed. What's very important also is you'll see the client's height and weight. So with this information, we can go right to CarrieLevinson.com. We can run some quotes, put in the height and weight. There's a very, very neat tool on CarrieLevinson.com. When you actually run a quote, it's called X-Ray Light. You can put in all the client's medical information. It will actually pair that client's medical situation with a underwriting classification and actually give you the premium amount. So that's an invaluable tool you can use on the fly, on the phone with the client to really know what type of rate class and set those correct expectations from the get-go. We'll also be emailing out in this afternoon's email mortgage lead program frequently asked questions, as well as some lead scripts, just for those agents that are interested in some other objections that clients might have. We put them all together in one spot so you can take a look at those. Another great tool that we're very excited about, which Bill's going to touch on, is our Agency Automator platform.
Okay, yeah, we're just about done here. So we've been working on this for over a year now. In fact, it's about 14 months in development, and it is our Agency Automator program. So I'll just give you the 100-foot overview in 5 seconds. So basically, it's a CRM dashboard to manage all of your existing clients and prospects, okay, under one roof. Then on the other side of the Agency Automator, it's a prospecting tool that allows you, okay, basically to purchase and add to your database up to 1,000 new prospects per month, okay, that you'll be able to get their name, address, phone number, and email when available to whatever criteria that you dial in the system. So I'll give you a quick example. If you're working the senior market or retirees and you want to work in our zip code 33067 and you want everyone turning age 65 within 6 months, the system will spit out up to 1,000 names or prospects per month that then you can send out your mailer, you can set up a phone campaign, and then you take all those prospects and put them into your database. So when you send out your monthly e-blast, everybody now is going to receive your communications for your newsletter, holiday cards, birthday cards, policy anniversary. All of the campaigns are built in this tool. And if you're active with us, this will be 100% free, okay? So we cover the activation. It's free as long as you're writing at least $1,000 of annualized premium per month. That's one small case per month, and we pay for the entire system. If you're brand new with us, you haven't written anything, the program will cost you $25 a month, and we pay for all of the activation. There's nowhere you're going to find a program to get 1,000 prospects every single month for that kind of money. You're free as long as you're active with us. So you'll see the Agency Automator launching in about 10 days, and we'll have a live webinar, and we'll introduce all of our agents to our new program. Also, keep your eyes peeled. October 1st, very important, we are on the cover of Insurance Newsnet magazine. It is our 3rd year in a row. We could not be any more excited about this. In my opinion, that is just the ultimate and just shows where we're going as a company and as an agency and how we're helping life insurance agents across the country. So Joe's going to talk about upcoming training events, which is what you're on right now, and then we'll close out the webinar. Joe?
Yeah, thanks, Bill. So just a couple, upcoming webinars for next week on the 27th, 11 a.m. We're actually covering marketing to business owners. It's going to be co-hosted by Assurity Life. So we're going to talk about some great ideas and products and ways to actually get your foot in the door with those business owners and some different approaches to use to uncover some new sales. Thursday of next week, which is the 29th at 11 a.m. Eastern, we're covering Americo's Home Mortgage Series product, which is a non-med term product. We're also going to dive a little bit into their e-application to give you a sneak peek at what that looks like. And then Tuesday, which is the 4th, the following week at 11, we're going over Fidelity Life's e-application training. They have a rapid app process where you can write an application over the phone, getting approved in about 24 hours. So some great products to join those webinars. You can go right to KerryLevinson.com and register just like you did for today's call.
Okay, thanks, Joe. Just a quick note here. I want to thank all of our guest speakers. Most important, thank you to our agents for making this all possible. And, you know, everything sounds great. Everything that we learned about has a lot of value. But if you're not motivated, you don't have the energy and the sizzle to put all of this together and come across on the phone as you're being sincere and energetic, okay? You want your prospects to feel the positivity and the energy. We have to make sure that we're focused day in and day out to put all of these pieces together. We want to have the right attitude and put our front foot forward and make it all happen. So whatever it takes as far as books or any kind of motivation, I suggest that you do that. Whatever you're comfortable with, make sure you stay focused and positive day in and day out. And I'll end with this motivational piece. When you want to succeed as bad as you want to breathe, then you will be successful. Have a wonderful rest of the week, a great weekend, and good selling. Thanks again.